Well, at the moment, the Australian economy is still chugging along fairly nicely, about 3% economic growth. Entering our, I think, 27th year of uninterrupted growth, which makes us quite unique in economies globally. But from a political perspective, we're heading into some tougher territory. The phenomenon of this populist vote that seems to be globally occurring, where the distinction between the haves and the have-nots is certainly making its presence felt in the Australian economy, which makes governing difficult. And for the first time, the Australian economy is under credit watch from a AAA credit rating, which is something that's providing certainly challenges for the industry. Having said that, there's still lots of scope, lots of opportunity. There's lots of foreign investment interest in the country, huge infrastructure spending program, which and a suggestion that there'll be an uptick in M&A activity, which is quite encouraging.
Well, I talk from a Hong Kong and Beijing perspective where we have offices. I think the obvious dominant factor is the Chinese economy, how it's going to deal with its debt problems and the depreciation of the yuan and how that will play out on a global trade basis, which leads to the other big issue, of course, which is how China and US trade relations will develop under the new Trump administration.
I think it's mainly to do with where the growth is going to come from this year. There's a lot of uncertainty in markets, a lot of uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen, big picture for economic growth throughout the region, what the drivers are going to be for the Singapore economy this year. We've had a decent run in 2016, and people are hoping that momentum continues into 2017.
Well, I think given our historical ties, we're following it very closely, and like I think everyone in the world, quite a shock with the result. But quickly, I think, got over that perspective, and I think from our part of the world, we see opportunity in what's happened, and in terms of establishing bilateral relations again with the UK. And I think there is lots of appetite for doing that and seeing what can be achieved, which would benefit both economies.
Obviously huge ties between Hong Kong and Britain on a historic basis, but I've got to be honest with you, the main trade axis is not between Hong Kong and the UK. I think there's certainly elements of appeal of a depreciated sterling that is attractive to Chinese and Asian buyers who are looking for retail, for real estate, for industrial assets. But beyond that, it is not something that dominates conversations in our part of the world.
To be completely honest, the impact is minimal. People aren't as concerned as I think most folks in the UK seem to think. The UK no longer is a large trading partner with Singapore and with a lot of the Southeast Asian countries. People obviously are interested in investments because one of the net results of Brexit very quickly was a depreciation of the pound against Asian currencies. And we've seen in the last 6 months quite a lot of clients actually come out and purchase assets in the UK, principally in the traditional areas where they've been interested, so property, services, hospitality, that sort of thing.
Looking ahead into 2017 and beyond, obviously we're still all obsessing about Brexit and the impact that Brexit may have, how it will play out, what impact that might have on the economy. I think what's been most interesting since June last year has been depreciation in sterling and the impact actually that's had in terms of investments in the UK and elsewhere. We've seen definitely an uptick in M&A activity. And we have hopes that, in fact, 2017 may bring more such activity and also IPOs and other deals. I think at the moment I feel quite optimistic about the immediate prospects for the future. The real risks of Brexit are some way out as negotiations press on and we find out what Brexit really means and whether we really will make a success of it. I think it's been very interesting to hear from people based on the other side of the world about how Brexit is perceived from where they stand. As I as many people would say, in the UK we talk of little else, but it's perfectly clear that on the streets of Singapore and on the streets of Hong Kong, Brexit is not a major topic of conversation. If anything, it's seen as a sort of minor issue that has led to a greater opportunity to buy both handbags and also real estate. So I think perhaps we should stop being quite so obsessed with Brexit. Brexit is a long way off, and there are plenty of other things to worry about, and also opportunities that may come. In fact, if anything, I've been quite encouraged by what's been said by our colleagues. I think the opportunities that Brexit presents may be very real.